Hello everyone, MizzeeOH here at Man in Black Reviews to do a vlog. Yes, I know most people say vlog, but I like my choice. On Scream 4, Wes Craven's recent new installment of the Scream series. As some of you probably know, I've been doing a Scream-a-thon leading up to Scream 4 for a while now. But there have been various delays to the Scream 4 review. First of all, there were a whole bunch of complications about me actually going to the theater to see the movie at first, so it took a while to get that ironed out. Then when I did finally see it, it was probably over a week after the actual release of the movie, so that was late as it is. And this is also coming at a time where I have a bunch of other stuff to do, mostly video editing and other reviews. I'm going to be starting another marathon next month, early next month, like the 1st or 2nd, I think, which is a pretty lengthy one, and there's a lot of time invested into it, so I have that I'm doing too, along with a bunch of video editing and other stuff, but I'll get to that maybe later or with another vlog. Either way, so I won't have time for a Scream 4 full-fledged video review like I did with Sucker Punch and, you know, Deathly Hallows, Harry Potter, but I will do a vlog on it right now, just to give some of my opinions on the movie. I was doing a text review, but as I will get to, I've kind of lost motivation for that for a few reasons. Part of that is the work I have to do right now that's really taking up a lot of time and energy, and part of it is also because, well, I guess the movie left me feeling motivated to do a whole video review on it for the first night, but after that, I guess it just kind of left my mind. See, with Scream 4, it's kind of like the Scream 3 effect. It was fun while I was watching it, and I liked it a lot while I was watching it, and it wasn't a bad movie. Scream 3 was still worse than Scream 4. But if you read my review, you know that I didn't hate Scream 3, it was just the weakest of the series. Scream 3 is still the weakest of the series, but the first two Scream movies are definitely better than Scream 4. Scream 4 is similar to Scream 3 in that it's sort of forgettable after you watch it. You'll enjoy it as you watch it thoroughly because it's really entertaining, as are all of the Scream movies, but it doesn't really stick with you that much. Now, the main three characters, as everyone knows, I think, or at least most people, Neve Campbell, David Arquette, and Courtney Cox, they come back as Sidney, Dewey, and Gale, of course, and what was noticeable to me was that they all had lesser roles than in the previous movies. Of course, Scream 4 is coming 11 years after the last Scream movie. And what's kind of neat is that it takes place in universe 10 or 11 years after the last movie too. So it's not like, you know, a year after Scream 3 in universe and suddenly they're all looking older. They've all had very stressful years that's aged them very, very much. But, you know, so there's a reason for their aged looks. I think Courtney Cox must have gotten lip injections. But that's beside the point. So, you can tell they kind of gave those three people lesser roles to make room for the younger crowd. The younger new crowd, such as Hayden Panettiere, you know, and all the other ones. Hayden Panettiere is the one that comes to mind first, just because she has a fairly major role in the movie. This was interesting, you know, also similar to Scream 3. Thinking about it, Scream 4 has so many of the faults that Scream 3 did, but similar to Scream 3, Sidney in particular really doesn't add much to the movie at all like she did the first two films. She's just not really a factor. She has no personality, and it's now gotten to the point where really anyone could fill her role. She's just generic character, but she happens to be the main character. So she doesn't really have much of a personality right now, as of the third and fourth films. But this film especially, she had more of a personality in the third movie, but she's really not much of a factor in this one. I mean, she just is there. There's not really anything more to say about that. She didn't have any, I mean, she had an effect on the plot, obviously. It was still centered on her, as it was with all of the movies. And I guess this is a warning for now. Throughout this vlog, I might be going into spoilers. I don't know how major they'll be. I think they'll be, for the most part, pretty minor, but if I say a major spoiler, then I will give a warning beforehand. But, I personally kind of think, I had wished before watching the movie, even though I knew that, you know, 99.99999% chance it wasn't gonna happen, but I was kind of hoping that the twist in Scream 4 would be that Sydney had gone off the deep end and was actually Ghostface. I think that would have been pretty neat, and I know some other people who would have liked that too. But of course, I think most of us know that's not going to happen, and that's not what happened in the movie, so, you know, everyone who wanted that but knew it wasn't going to happen, they were right, especially since there's going to be Scream 5 and 6, supposedly. Whew, hello, new Saw. But, yeah, so oopsie. Accidentally shook the tripod there. But, yeah, she wasn't really anything in this movie. She was just a boring character. Dewey and Gale's characters were a bit better. Dewey has lost a little bit of his personality, too. He's starting to show what Sydney was showing in Scream 3. Not quite to that level yet, but he's getting there. You can tell by the 5th or 6th movie that's gonna be the case, unfortunately. Gale was Gale. I mean, she was cool as always. I don't really have any complaints about how her character was portrayed. As for the new characters, once again, as with all the other movies, Scream 4 did succeed definitely in making you guess as to who the killer was. There were many times where I just was not sure at all who was gonna do it, and I was speculating wildly throughout the entire movie. Because with all the other movies, they definitely gave you a lot of evidence for each character. So when you finally realized who the killer was, it was slightly more predictable than the other movies, I have to admit. For reasons you'll see when you watch the movie. I don't know if it's the same with other people. I haven't really read many reviews for Scream 4, but this was a tad bit more predictable. Minor spoiler alert. The killers, they came in pairs again, as with all the other movies. You know, when are they gonna stop doing this? I mean, it's gonna get old at some point. The whole pairs thing, the cliche. I mean, it still kind of works, because the main killer in Scream 4, that character being the killer was kind of predictable, but the side character other than that was not. So I guess making the killers come in pairs in these movies adds a bit of unpredictability to it. But, you know, it's gonna get old at some point. It's gonna get unoriginal, and I can see it going towards that. But aside from that, the characters were done very well, and there was a great cast in the Scream 4. I loved the cast. Hayden Panettiere was awesome. She was so perfect for her role in this movie as, like, the horror buff. But the female version of Randy. I still think they should have left Randy alive in Scream 2. I mean, they brought in 2 new characters in Scream 4, aside from Hayden Panettiere, who were, like, Randy ripoffs. Like, both of them combined were Randy, but together they were just, half. You know, no. I don't like you guys. You're not Randy, and stop pretending to be. Just stop. You're not fooling anyone. But, you know, getting off topic. My own personal thing against Scream 2. But, you know, so, yeah. The characters were pretty well done, except for the main three people, for the most part. I have to say, on a random note, Scream 4, by far the best opening of any Scream movie so far. It was so freaking awesome. You will definitely see a few familiar faces in the opening, as they've done with all the other movies, you know. Cast some relatively famous and well-known people for the opening kills. And I don't think that's really a spoiler, because anyone who's a fan of the Scream series knows that the opening scene is gonna have kills. But that's awesome, the beginning. That was like my favorite part of the entire movie. I'm serious. It was just awesome. Now, obviously, Scream 4 takes place a while after the last Scream. There's been a lot of new technology and social media, new pop culture jokes and everything since the last Scream 3 movie. So they had a lot to work with, a lot of new material to make jokes about and such. And they definitely took advantage of that, but I'm a bit conflicted as to the execution of it and how I feel about that. See, a good amount of the jokes were humorous. They got some good chuckles out of me. But at the same time, it's like they were really trying too hard to cater to that younger audience. Like, I remember, for example, there was one scene, I think, where Gail was discussing something with Dewey, and I can't remember exactly what it was. I guess this is going back to the whole forgettable thing. But she was saying, I think, something about how something would be posted on Facebook, but then she paused and said, or maybe I guess that would be Twitter now. That wasn't really that much. It's like they were trying to say, we're making references to people young, things like, love me, I'm a good movie, I'm funny. But, you know, some of the jokes just kind of fell flat. They weren't really that funny. It's not to say that all of the jokes were cringeworthy, because they weren't. Like I said, they got a few good laughs out of me, but they were just really trying to cater to that younger audience, and I don't know, it kind of fell flat for me. They were just trying really, 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 really hard to cater to that audience, and it was noticeable, and it's not good when something like that is too noticeable. Still though, you can tell this movie is a bit more, is much more current. I was gonna say polished, but I guess that's only my new age taste coming into mind, however that works. But yeah, the kills were, I think they were better than Scream 3. A couple of them, I think at least one, was basically a homage to Scream 1's kill of Sydney's friend in the garage door. It was basically the same sort of thing, I believe. But that leads me into another point of how the entire movie is basically a homage to Scream 1. Especially with who the two killers are and their plan and that whole last scene. I know it was deliberate, but I mean, were they just totally out of ideas for Scream 4? And the reason to make these people go off the end and target Sydney and her friends once again. I mean, when I say it was the exact same plan as the first two characters in the first movie, it was the exact same plan. It really was. I mean that completely. It's like there is a difference between paying tribute to something and copying it. Just copying it. I mean, I know they were trying to pay tribute to it, and I understand and appreciate that, but it got kind of boring. You were like, okay, well, I've seen this before, so alright. I mean, I see what they were trying to do there, I really do, but once again, I think that kind of fell flat too. Now, I know I've mostly slammed Scream 4 so far, but I did like it a lot. Like I said, it was really, really good entertainment while I was watching it, but now that it's been about a week or so, maybe a bit more since I've seen it, it's really kind of gone out of my mind. I mean, I remember Scream 2 and Scream 1 better than Scream 3 and Scream 4, and I saw Scream 1 and Scream 2 quite a few months ago. So, for what that says about Scream 4. I mean, I liked it, and if you're a fan of the Scream series, then definitely see it, but if you're not a fan, you're not gonna like it. And it's not better than Scream 1 or Scream 2. It's just really not. I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And I'm a fan of the Scream series, so I liked it a lot. But I can understand that there were a lot of weaknesses to it. And once again, I'll say that, just as a minor annoyance, why do the police take so long to get to the houses in this movie? Where are they? Where are they? Now, one criticism I've seen pretty frequently of it is that it's taking, it's just, there are so many horror cliches in it that it's just ridiculous. But I think those people are all missing the point of the Scream series. It's supposed to exploit horror cliches. Once again, Scream succeeded in doing that. Scream 4, that is. So those people just don't really get it, I think. Because they're supposed to be horror cliches in this series. It wouldn't be Scream without them. So, yeah, that's pretty much my feelings about Scream 4. It's probably my third favorite in the series so far, with Scream 3 being the last. See it if you like the Scream series. And you just, you know, want to keep up with the characters. But, yeah, like I said, if you don't like the Scream series, then don't. You're not gonna like this one. I liked this movie, but it was far, 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 far away from perfect. So, yeah. There wraps up my Scream-a-thon. I will definitely review Scream 5 and 6 when they come out. Hopefully those will be video reviews. I don't see why they wouldn't be, since I'm going to try as hard as I possibly can to see them in the theater when they come out, so you'll likely have a video review, but I don't know, that's gonna be a couple years probably down the line, so let's just forget about that for now. So yeah, there we go. Scream 4. MizzeeOH out.